What's going on, everyone? Enrique here at GSM Arena, your destination for smartphones, specs, news, and reviews. OnePlus has officially unveiled its latest smartphone duo. The OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro are finally official, and they are more expensive than ever. So what did OnePlus do with the 8 and the 8 Pro this time around? Let's take a look at what's new. Looking at both the 8 and 8 Pro, they look strikingly similar to each other, and they share a bunch of similarities with the 7 Pro. Both the 8 and 8 Pro now offer curved edge displays. The 8 Pro has a deeper curve than the 8. Otherwise, both phones now use hole-punch selfie cameras rather than the notch on the 7T and the pop-up camera from the 7 Pro. The curves on both phones are a little tighter, from the tapered edges on the back to the radius of the corners. This gives them slightly more squarish appearances, but only slightly. In terms of how it feels in the hand, the 8 pretty much feels exactly like the 7 Pro in size and dimensions, except the 8 is slightly narrower than the 7 Pro. Meanwhile, the 8 Pro feels a little meatier than the 7 Pro since the curves are a little bit tighter, but it's slightly taller than the 7 Pro and the same width. The OnePlus 8 that we received has the Interstellar Glow finish. It's a glossy finish with a gradient featuring hints of silver, blue, and peach. It reminds me of the colors I see when the sun rises, and it looks really nice. The headlining color of the OnePlus 8 Pro is the ultramarine blue, and the name of the color has its origins in 15th century art in Europe. But anyway, the blue is so deep and captivating with its matte, soft touch finish. Between the Nebula Blue on the 7 Pro and the Glacier Blue from the 7T, this one is my favorite blue from OnePlus so far. Looking at the displays, the OnePlus 8 has a 6.55-inch display with a 20:9 aspect ratio. This is a Full HD Plus AMOLED panel with a 90Hz refresh rate like last year. On the other hand, the OnePlus 8 Pro has a 6.78-inch display with a QHD Plus resolution. It has the same 20:9 aspect ratio as the OnePlus 8, and OnePlus claims that both of these displays are highly accurate color-wise. Aside from being higher res than the 8, the 8 Pro also has a faster 120Hz refresh rate and can interpolate additional frames with a motion smoothing feature when watching video. My initial impressions of the motion smoothing are so-so, but I'll save my verdict for the full review. The other thing the 8 Pro introduces is an RGB sensor that allows for automatic tone adjustment of the display, depending on your surroundings, much like Apple's True Tone on iPhones. Both devices are powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 paired with the Qualcomm X55 modem, so they will be compatible with sub-6 GHz 5G network bands, and Verizon will offer a custom variant compatible with its millimeter wave 5G network. Both phones now have larger batteries. The 8 packs a 4300 mAh battery, while the larger 8 Pro has a 4510 mAh power pack. Both use OnePlus's Warp Charge 30T adapter, but the OnePlus 8 Pro finally brings wireless charging. OnePlus also introduced its Warp Charge 30 wireless charger, which can recharge the OnePlus 8 Pro from 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes wirelessly. In addition, the 8 Pro even supports reverse wireless charging, which just puts the icing on the cake. Finally, we get to the cameras. Starting with the OnePlus 8 Pro, it has an updated 48-megapixel sensor with larger pixels and all-pixel omnidirectional autofocus, so I'm hoping to see much better low-light performance and faster focusing. The ultra-wide uses a 48-megapixel sensor too, though not as physically large. And there's a 3x zoom 8-megapixel telephoto camera. The fourth camera is a new addition that OnePlus calls the color filter camera. In the camera app, there's a new 48-megapixel toggle that makes it easier to shoot in full resolution with either the main or the ultra-wide cameras. We wonder if the telephoto camera takes better photos than if we would just crop it out of the full resolution shot. The OnePlus 8 is where things get a little confusing. It uses the same 48 megapixel sensor from the 7T, and the aperture is slightly dimmer at f1.75. You still keep the same 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera, also from the 7T, but instead of a telephoto camera, OnePlus went with a 2 megapixel macro, and I'm just trying to wonder why. You can still shoot 2x zoom photos, but it will just crop them out of the main camera. So the camera situation here doesn't sound like an upgrade. For selfies, both the 8 and 8 Pro use the exact same 16 megapixel camera module from the 7 Pro and the 7T, only now it's embedded into a punch hole behind the screen. There's a new smart pet capture mode that can now recognize dogs and cats when taking portrait photos, so you can snap pictures of your pets. And there's a new flicker detection mode, but that's only on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and that will automatically change the camera shutter speed when there's a lighting flicker present. So we have two new phones from OnePlus, the 8 and the 8 Pro. Starting with the OnePlus 8 Pro, the biggest improvements are the new processor, 5G support, a bigger battery, super fast wireless charging, and there's an updated camera module. There's also the new 120Hz display that's brighter and more color accurate than before. So we see upgrades across the board. Now the OnePlus 8, this one's a little different. On paper, it feels like the camera is a downgrade. There's no longer a dedicated telephoto camera, and why replace it with a 2 megapixel macro camera? The 7T had an ultra-wide camera with autofocus, so it doubled as its macro camera. It feels like the 2 megapixel camera is only there so that the phone doesn't revert to a dual camera since the 7T had 3 cameras. Never settle, right? The OnePlus 8 starts at $699 for the 8GB 128GB version, and $799 for the next step up, 12GB 256GB. Then the OnePlus 8 Pro starts at $899 for the 8GB 128GB version, and if you want the deep ultramarine blue color, it only comes in the 12GB 256GB option, which goes for $999. With the 8 and 8 Pro, this is the most expensive generation of OnePlus phones so far, so you can expect our full review to be as critical as ever, because when a phone maker asks for $1,000, it needs to be able to deliver. That said, if you have any questions about either of these OnePlus phones, make sure you leave a comment down below or hit me up on social media so we can touch on it on the full reviews. With that, I'm Enrique with GSM Arena. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.